watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat. This is the show to start your day with. We have lots lined up ahead. Good morning. This is Priyanshi, and the big LIC IPO upcoming this week, while the Prime Minister is to hold a review meeting on India's COVID situation and a tragic accident in Tamil Nadu's Thanjavur district. We'll get you the details of all these stories. First, a look at the top headlines. The Life Insurance Corporation's long-awaited public issue offering, India's biggest, will be in the price band of 902 to 949 with a 60 rupee discount to policy holders. The press conference to take place today. And at least 11 people, including 2 children, were killed after a temple carriage came in contact with a high-tension power line early this morning in Tamil Nadu's Thanjavur district. After the Supreme Court's intervention, the Uttarakhand police denies permission for a dharam, sansad or religious gathering in Roorkee. Section 144 is imposed. After all the will he or won't he election strategist Prashant Kishore has said a firm no to the Congress. Sources indicate that the party had refused to give him a free hand. Today, the Prime Minister will be interacting with Chief Ministers to review the COVID situation. That meeting at around noon. As COVID cases rise, a big move in the world of vaccines. Vaccines cleared for children. Covaxin for 6 to 12 years of age, Corbevax for 5 to 12 years age group, and 2 doses of Zycov-D for above 12 years of age. Up first, some very tragic news coming in. At least 11 people were killed after a temple palanquin came in contact with a high-tension power line early this morning in Tamil Nadu's Thanjavur district. The tragedy struck during the car festival of the Upper Temple at Kalimedu around 3 a.m. 2 children are also said to have died in the accident, while 3 others are being treated with severe burn injuries. Let's go across to Sam for more details on this story. Sam, a very tragic incident that happened. Could you tell us more on what exactly happened?
Well, Priyanshi and Gargi, this happened around 3 o'clock this morning when this palanquin was visiting house by house, receiving coconuts and completing the religious ritual there. And the palanquin, at a point when it made a turn to return, the top portion of the palanquin lost balance and it came in contact with a high-tension power line overhead. And that led to a fire. At least 10 people at the moment had died on the spot, and as we speak now, 2 more people have died, and this includes 2 children. And at least the condition of 3 more people is said to be critical as they are battling with severe burn injuries. And this raises several questions of lapse, whether authorities failed to shut down the power supply on the high-tension power line overhead. Police explained that they had turned off the low-tension line, and the high-tension power line was quite high. And the height of this particular palanquin, they say, was not that high. But the decorative structure put up around that, on top of that, they say, increased the height, and at that point where it lost balance, the structure had come in contact with the high tension line. Certainly questions of lapses are being raised, but at the moment investigation is underway, and there's not no response yet from the government. We expect a statement to be made by the Chief Minister on the floor of the Assembly later today. And the police say the best possible treatment is being given for those who are injured, and investigation is underway as we speak now.
All right, Sam, very, very tragic. 11 people losing their lives, 2 children among them. Let's just listen into what the IG had to say.
And the electrocution, idhula 10 பேர் இறந்திருக்காங்க. அதுல 3 பேர் அங்க ஸ்பாட்ல இறந்திருக்காங்க. அப்புறம் 7 பேர் இந்த தஞ்சாவூர் மெடிக்கல் காலேஜ் ஹாஸ்பிடல் வந்ததுக்கு அப்புறமா ட்ரீட்மெண்ட்ல இருந்திருக்காங்க. இப்போ மீதி காயம்பட்டவங்க இன்னொரு 15 பேர் இருக்காங்க. அதுல டாக்டர்ஸ் வந்து தீவிரமாக சிகிச்சை கொடுத்துக்கிட்டு இருக்கிறாங்க. இப்போது இந்த எலக்ட்ரிக்யூஷன் ஆக்சிடெண்ட் வந்து எப்படி நடந்தது அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கு எஃப்ஐஆர் பதிவு செய்யப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. அதில் என்ன நடந்தது, எக்ஸாக்ட் காஸ் எப்படி அந்த சம்பவம் நடந்தது அப்படிங்கிறது எல்லாமே புலன் விசாரணையில் இருந்துட்டு இருக்குது இப்போ.
All right, so very tragic there. But moving on now to some other news, and the government will announce the details of Life Insurance Corporation's long-awaited IPO today. The IPO will be opening on the 2nd of May for anchor investors, then 4th to 9th for the public, and government sources have told NDTV that. So, Priyanshi, I know you know all the details of this big IPO, which is much awaited. So, tell us, why is it so big, and it's going to be India's biggest, we're told.
That's right, Gargi. It's going to be India's biggest IPO in its history, and it's finally going to be out in the coming week after being delayed and much anticipation. So let's take you through the major highlights and the delays and the timelines. The government had initially wanted to list LIC in the last financial year that ended March 31st, but had to delay the sale after Russia's invasion of Ukraine triggered a market rout. But it's finally going to be out. So let's now take our viewers to the most important consumer interest point, which is the pricing. Sources say that shares will be issued in the price band of 902 to 949 rupees a piece, but there is good news for existing policy holders, investors and employees. Policy holders will be able to get the shares at a 60 rupee discount, while retail investors and employees can get it at a 45 rupees discount. Now, secondly, the LIC IPO is crucial for the government. LIC board has approved a cut in its IPO issue size to 3.5% from 5%, which might affect the government's disinvestment targets. A sale of 3.5% stake in the IPO will fetch the government 21,000 crore rupees. Remember, the government has a disinvestment target of 65,000 crore rupees this fiscal year, and a majority of this target was initially expected to be fulfilled through selling a 5% stake in the massive LIC IPO. But after the issue size has been cut, it creates uncertainty on government's disinvestment plans. Though the government sources did tell us that there is still an option to increase the stake offer from 3.5% to 5%, in which case the exchequer will garner 30,000 crore rupees from this sale. So that will majorly help this disinvestment targets for this year. But whether the final offer is a stake sale of 3.5% for 21,000 crore rupees or 5% for 30,000 crore rupees, LIC's IPO will be India's largest ever regardless. It will surpass Paytm's IPO that came out last year at 18,300 crore rupees, and Coal India that came out in 2000, which was valued at 15,199 crore rupees, and Reliance Power, which came out in 2008, which was at 11,563 crore rupees, and lastly, the General Insurance Company, which came out in 2017 and was valued at 11,176 crore. So it is the biggest, it is much awaited IPO, and LIC has been a company that has been connected to Indian families through its policies for generations. So we'll all look forward to LIC's big announcements on the details of this IPO today.
Right, you're absolutely right. I think all our parents had LIC policies and they used to buy it for us as well, and going forward. So now this massive IPO and all those details that Priyanshi was telling us, a lot more will come out today during that press conference. Well, let's move on to the big political story now. And after months of meetings and presentations and all the speculations right here, in fact, about the Congress and whether PK is going to be joining or not be joining, finally some concrete answers. Political strategist Prashant Kishore has officially declined to join the Congress.
That's right, Gargi. Sources say the Congress was divided internally on both getting PK on board and giving him a free hand. Randeep Surjewala in a tweet said, PK was invited to join the party with defined responsibility, but he declined.
So is this defined responsibility that led to the fallout, the fact that he wasn't getting a free hand, that he was going to be made part of yet another committee in the Congress? Well, Prashant Kishore tweeted soon after saying, more than me, the party needs leadership and collective will to fix the deep-rooted structural problems. Ouch. So a little bit of sting there at the end. He also then talked about transformation reform. So what really happened? NDTV's Nidhi Razdan got us the details.
Both sides today announced in some cryptic tweets that it was all over. Randeep Surjewala of the Congress was the first to do it. Interestingly, he did talk about a defined role for Prashant Kishore, and then Prashant Kishore tweeted subsequently. But here are pretty much the 5 reasons why this has happened. One is that Prashant Kishore, of course, wanted full control of the Congress before 2024, but the Congress instead had just offered him a seat on this empowered group that they had announced yesterday. And, someone like Prashant Kishore, he's mercurial, he's volatile, he likes being directly in touch with leaders, like with the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, when he was running his campaign, or Nitish Kumar or Amrinder Singh in Punjab. So he doesn't like being part of a larger group where there might be checks and balances and he may have to take other people along. Secondly, I think a lot of Congress leaders were also wary about handing the party over to a political strategist, someone who is not ideologically in sync necessarily with the Congress. After all, Prashant Kishore has worked with a range of political parties, including the BJP and other political rivals. It also comes at a time when Rahul Gandhi is MIA. He's been abroad now for the last 10-12 days and been unreachable from what we hear. Priyanka Gandhi, though, was enthusiastic about PK's entry. Sonia Gandhi, however, was the one who had to take the final decision. And even though she was believed to be enthusiastic about it earlier, ended up, cutting him down to size. Then there was also the issue of Prashant Kishore's weekend meeting at KCR's house in Hyderabad. The TRS is the Congress's rival in the state, and that irked a big section of the leadership, which again sort of used it as another stick to beat Prashant Kishore with in terms of the trust factor.
All right, so I suppose for now that's an end to this whole Prashant Kishore question in the Congress party. Well, moving on to other news, yesterday that happened, a massive fire broke out at a landfill site in North Delhi on Tuesday evening. The fire broke out at the Bhalswa landfill site and is the 4th such large-scale fire in Delhi's landfill site over the last one. Just take a look at how massive that fire was.
Yes, and several fire tenders were rushed to control the fire, and the fire has now been brought under control. However, the operation to douse the fire completely is still on.
Remember, this is a massive garbage dump in North Delhi, and it's a garbage dump we've in fact reported on very often because it's a pollution issue as well. And now, of course, this is the fear when you have such a big pollution garbage dump, a fire of this manner breaking out, and you can just imagine the toxic fumes. Let's go across to Akshay for more. In Akshay, what is the latest? Has it finally been brought under control? And one can just imagine the kind of smoke and pollution in the area.
Well, absolutely, Gargi, because this entire landfill site is quite huge. In fact, when we talk about the landfill site, this is the fourth such fire incident that has taken place in just a month. The 3 other fires that took place were at the Ghazipur landfill site. Now, the MCD as well as the other authorities, including the Delhi Fire Services, are trying to determine the reason that why fire took place. Now, there are 2 possible causes. One can be a human activity, and second can be methane that is generated by the decaying organic matter. That because of the rising heat, the methane is generated in higher quantity, and that is how a lot of times these kind of landfill sites catch fire. But this in fact, as far as the updates are concerned, the fire has been relatively brought under control, but still the operations are on. Fire tenders are there, trying to douse the fire, trying to ensure that there is no remnants of the fire there still at the landfill site, because even a small fire or small place which is left unchecked can in fact reignite the fire because of the methane that is generated from such landfill sites. However, the permanent solution that should have been brought by the MCD has yet not been done. The fire department as well as other experts in this matter have said that a layer of soil and construction material should be dumped in every regular period, so that the chances of these kind of landfill sites catching fire is reduced to a minimal. But that has not been done, and as a result, we are seeing such massive fires taking place. As far as the data goes, there have been several fires in these landfill sites. In the Bhalswa landfill site, this is the second fire this year. In Ghazipur landfill site, there have been around 4 to 5 fires in very recent periods. So this situation, in fact, becomes extremely toxic and hazardous for the people who are living nearby. And in fact, they have been trying to reach out to the MCD as well as the other authorities for a permanent solution to these kind of problems, because already, as it is, their life is extremely difficult living near these kind of landfill sites, because the toxic fumes and the smell that usually comes out of these landfill sites. And the site, of course, there have been different problems for these people, but any kind of fire without checks, in fact, make their lives extremely difficult.
Right, and Akshay, we've been reporting on this landfill site for several years now, and we're, every time we're told some solution will come up, a fire breaks out, we report on it again, and then once again it's forgotten. So this massive fire breaking out, and this is in Delhi, in North Delhi, so you can just imagine the kind of hazard to public health. All right, with that, time for us to slip into a short break.
And coming up, after being taken to task by the Supreme Court, the religious gathering in Uttarakhand's Roorkee is stopped by the police. Details with Saurabh Shukla on the other side.
Welcome back. A right-wing group's request for a religious gathering at Roorkee has met with a firm no from the Uttarakhand police on a day that they were taken to task by the Supreme Court and questioned on what steps they were taking to prevent an event like the Haridwar one in December, where numerous hate speeches against minorities were made.
And the police have taken prompt precautionary measures, indicating the imposition of prohibitory orders banning large gatherings and flooding the area with police personnel. The police have also registered a first information report against the organizers, citing the Supreme Court orders to the state government to ensure that no further hate speeches are given. Let's listen in to what the Haridwar SP told the media.
5 किलोमीटर का एरिया है गांव और उसके आसपास के गांव का जो 5 किलोमीटर का एरिया, उसमें से 44 लगा दी गई है, जिसमें किसी भी प्रकार के जमाव की, किसी भी प्रकार के असेंबली की अनुमति नहीं है और न किसी को इस प्रकार की अनुमति दी गई है। अगर वहां पर कोई भी व्यक्ति इस प्रकार का आता है तो वो एक अवैधानिक गतिविधि में भाग ले रहा होगा। इस प्रकार की गतिविधि को रोकने के लिए पर्याप्त संख्या में पुलिस बल लगाया गया है। करीब वहाँ पर 200 से अधिक हमारे सिविल पुलिस के कांस्टेबल्स और हेड कांस्टेबल्स होंगे। 100 के आसपास हमारे इंस्पेक्टर हैं वहाँ पे। इसके अलावा हम 5 कंपनी PSC वहाँ पर और तैनात कर रहे हैं ताकि इस प्रकार की किसी भी गतिविधि को रोका जा सके।
Well, let's go across to NDTV's Saurabh Shukla for more. And Saurabh, interesting, after the Supreme Court intervention, prompt action by the Uttarakhand police, the Supreme Court has also taken the Himachal government to task over the Dharam Sansad there, and you were there for that. First, give us details of Roorkee.
Absolutely. In fact, I had a word with the SSP Roorkee late night. He said that they have arrested the organizer of this Dharam Sansad. His name is Dinesh Anand, and after that they are also looking for other organizers. Total more than 30 people who were there, the part of group which was organizing this Dharam Sansad. In fact, Gargi, 2 weeks before Dharam Sansad was organized in Himachal's Una, where Supreme Court clearly asked Himachal government not to allow any kind of hate speeches, but hate speeches were given, and that was mentioned by Kapil Sibal in Supreme Court yesterday. And after that, Supreme Court tightens its stand and clearly said that if hate speeches, if Uttarakhand government allow these kind of Dharam Sansad and hate speeches are given, then Supreme Court will hold Chief Secretary of Uttarakhand responsible. And then after these comments from Supreme Court, Uttarakhand police acted. They imposed Section 144 in that whole area, that rural Roorkee where this Dharam Sansad had to happen, and then they arrested the organizer Dinesh Anand, and more than 500 police personnel they were deputed there. They have called PSC as well. SSP of Haridwar, DM of Haridwar, they are on the location. The SDM, Special Duty Magistrate, they have been appointed, and they have said that this Dharam Sansad is illegal, and whosoever will break Section 144, they will take a strict action against those. Gargi.
Right. And Saurabh, do we know who was going to attend? Because I do know the one that took place in Una. You had Yati Narsinghanand attending that Dharam Sansad as well. And he's somebody who actually went to jail after the Haridwar Dharam Sansad and is out on bail currently. So I think the Supreme Court mentioned that as well, that you have the same, people attending all these Dharam Sansads.
Absolutely, Gargi. It all started from Uttarakhand only. Last year, December, on 19 and 20th December, the first Dharam Sansad was organized in Haridwar, and later media reported we were there. And then after a lot of pressure from civil servants, and there are several judges also written to Prime Minister about the hate speeches. Then there was action. Yati Narsinghanand was arrested. Wasim Rizvi, he was arrested. There was FIR against Annapurna and other Amrutanand and Prabodhanand. They were also booked. But they did not stop there. They held up Dharam Sansad in Raipur, then in Allahabad, and then in Delhi also, you remember, Gargi, Delhi police also did not give permission, but then too they went ahead, and later they misbehaved with journalists, and Delhi police arrested few organizers, and there was an FIR in Delhi as well, and then Una, Himachal Pradesh. So that pattern clearly shows that these hate speech mongers, they did not care about the administration, but only when Supreme Court pitched in yesterday, then police is taking that preemptive measures. So administration also in all these states, they actually allowed. In fact, I was in Himachal Pradesh. I kept asking SSP and DM of Una that how can you allow, when Supreme Court has said that you have to reply to Supreme Court in coming week. And DM and SP said that Dharam Sansad has been organized in a private place and there is no threat. And they allowed that Dharam Sansad to happen, and hate speeches were given. And that was mentioned by Kapil Sibal in the court yesterday. So only after Supreme Court's intervention, these actions by Uttarakhand police. So as of now, Section 144 has been imposed. The organizer, Dinesh Anand, he is arrested. Uttarakhand police is also looking for other organizers, and they have said that this Dharam Sansad were illegal. Whosoever will try to break Section 144, they will take strict action against those.
All right, Saurabh. So clearly, after the Supreme Court intervention is, when this Roorkee Dharam Sansad has been stopped. Thanks so much for joining us there with all those details.
With that, it's time for a short break. The Prime Minister will interact with Chief Ministers today to review the COVID situation as India witnesses a surge. We'll get you the details on the other side.
And is it back to the days of power outages in financial capital Mumbai? This after the city's suburbs and surrounding areas went without power for more than an hour on Monday. And then on Wednesday morning, parts of Mumbai suburbs again suffered a power outage for several hours, with temperatures also soaring. Consumers taking to Twitter and social media to complain about the power cuts, and also shared snapshots of Adani Electricity's messages informing citizens of the same. Let's go across to Saurabh for more. And Saurabh, so what are we hearing? What is the reason for these power cuts, and can people in Mumbai expect relief soon?
Well, from what we are hearing, that some of these, issues have been fixed and power is being restored, but some continue to remain. Now, yesterday there was a major issue, a major transmission line tripped, and that was the reason why there was a power outage in several areas of Mumbai. But that was fixed within an hour, and power was restored in the financial capital. Now, with temperatures soaring, with summer having arrived early, the demand for power has also increased, and many have been talking about a shortage of electricity. Though officials say that there are enough coal stocks and thermal power is being produced at a capacity which meets the requirements and the demands at this current point. But Mumbai city yesterday, of course, faced this power outage because of that transmission line tripping. What was the exact reason for that transmission lines tripping? That, of course, is a matter of inquiry, but that it was clear that it was because of that. Today, of course, some of the consumers of Adani Electricity have been complaining of having received messages about the power cuts, and Adani Electricity has also been responding on Twitter that they are trying to fix the issue. In fact, one of the latest responses to one of the messages that was shared on Twitter by a consumer, Adani Electricity has responded. So, and their response is, of course, also the fact that they are trying to fix this issue of power outage in Mumbai. Now, several people have been questioning about the time of these power cuts, and how long it has been. In some places, people have been complaining about overnight power cut. and the Adani Electricity, in response to those messages, saying we understand your disappointment, our team is trying hard to resolve this recurring issue so that our customers do not suffer, request your support. So this statement from Adani Electricity is in response to a tweet over a question where one of the citizens asked if an all-night power outage was something that they don't remember when it last happened in the city, and that's Adani Electricity's response in just 59 minutes ago. So in some parts, yes, that power outage still remains. What's the cause of that? Well, nobody's explaining that yet, but we're awaiting a statement from Adani Electricity officially on what exactly has happened.
The big story today, the government will be announcing details of the Life Insurance Corporation's long-awaited IPO. The IPO will be opening on the 2nd of May for anchor investors and then between 4th and 9th of May for the public. According to sources which NDTV has learned from, that they have said that the shares will be issued in the price band of 902 to 949 a piece, with a 60 rupee discount for policy holders, a 45 rupee discount for retail investors and employees. Now, on Saturday, the LIC board had cut the size of the issue to 3.5% from 5%. The government is now expected to sell 3.5% of its stake in LIC for 21,000 crores, valuing LIC at 6 lakh crore. And even though it's been brought down from 5 to 3.5%, it will still be India's largest ever IPO. Well, to talk more about this and expectations and hopes around this IPO, we're now joined by Dhirendra Kumar, founder and CEO, Value Research, and Sanchita Mukherjee, Senior Financial Services Professional and former Senior Vice President, HSBC Bank. Thank you so much both for joining us. And Dhirendra, first to you, will the LIC IPO bring, life to the markets? That's the big question, because there have been so many factors that have been depressing markets with the war in Ukraine, rising oil prices, even COVID concerns.
I don't know. It could be disappointing simply because, if it succeeds, it will actually suck the liquidity out of the market. If it fails, then it will be a big dampener because, something like LIC, which looks like it could be a very unusual fail because it's backed by government. It was a monopoly. It remains the largest player. It is bigger than all the mutual fund companies put together. The assets under management, 40 lakh crore. So, when I look at the sheer scale of it, and, government happens to be, usually a bad, business owner. And so as much in this case. And that is what we know generally about PSUs. But in this case, it turns out to be a very valuable owner because if you look at the core of any insurance company, it is trust. And if government happens to be the owner, and it has gone on record to say that it will continue to remain the owner forever with a dominant control. This company is not going to get privatized. So in that sense, it has a lot of strength. It has a lot of, it remains a dominant player, private players, ever since the sector was opened up for private other participants. They still haven't, none of the players have gone to a double-digit market share. So one can understand, and these are long-term contracts. The market cannot disappear. It's not that people start. It's not like an airline business that tomorrow customers have a choice and they start choosing another airline. Here is a contract which which remains in force for 15 years, 20 years. So a lot of advantages, a lot of disadvantages. But most investors may not understand this, and it entirely depends. That is it going to be too attractive to ignore.
Dhirendra Kumar, you're not sounding too excited. You're playing the devil's advocate as far as
I'm not
IPO goes. Sanchita Mukherjee, what is your view of this, and also the fact that the size of the issue has been brought down? It was 7%, then 5%, and now 3.5%.
Thank you so much for having me. So my views will not be a call to for investment. I would request everybody to patch in with their investment advisors for this. But I would like to talk about this IPO listing because, yes, all said and done, it's a massive, it'll be India's largest IPO sale ever. And if we are to talk about valuations, yes, I think some pointers that one needs to note over here is that once the issue size has been lessened to 3.5% because of all the global situation that we're in, geopolitical tension, central banks tightening their monetary policies, oil prices and all of that. I think the mindset here is to release the 3.5% IPO and watch in terms of price discovery for a little more time till further can be divested. Having said that, at this IPO band, LIC is slated to be the 5th largest insurance company in the world. And at this IPO price band, there is an embedded value of 1.1 with a return on equity of 82%, which makes it very worthy in terms of its global peers. If one were to look at the insurance companies, say of China, Ping, etc., the embedded value, of course, is much lesser. So it is exciting for sure, but then again, cannot really be related to market conditions at this point in time, because yes, FIIs have been profit booking. There has been an outflow because of various global conditions, but I think domestic institutional investors, domestic retail investors have shown tremendous faith in the Indian markets, in Indian businesses, in the Indian economy, due to which I think the government has decided to go ahead with a 3.5% behemoth sale of this LIC insurance company.
All right. And, you know, in the recent past, all the IPOs have been a bit disappointing. Dhirendra Kumar, so that has also been something, you know, to think about. We had Paytm tanking 27% on its debut. Then you had Zomato, Nykaa, etc. So given this, you know, recent experience, and now you have this biggest IPO ever.
Yeah, generally speaking, you know, IPO is avoidable for a variety of reasons, but two primary reasons. One is that, you know, there is a big arbitrage. Here is the promoter who is issuing the shares, and the individual investors don't know much about it. All the things that is being talked about in the, you know, people still don't understand how life insurance companies, which is underwriting very long-term contracts, 15 years, 20 years. And this actually turns out to be, when I look at the DRHP, I realize that it is more of an asset management company than an insurance company. So that's one. The other is, you know, the whole lottery element of it. How many people are interested at this given point? What we generally think, all the fundamentals that we evaluate, it is generally, you know, the thought that is it a great company to hold for the long term? Should I be buying this stock and holding it for 5 years, 10 years? When it comes to IPO, you know, the approach is very different. Will I get the allotment? Will there be too many people applying for it? How big is the issue? And is it a worthwhile thing to issue? Because, you know, this itself, that it is a 3.5%, which will be followed up by another divestment, another liquidation. So there is not going to be a dearth of supply. So one should not be in a hurry.
All right. Well, thank you so much both for joining us on the program.